Hello, I'm Eoin Cantwell, and welcome to The Fit Life. This is the podcast where we explore simple, practical ways to bring more balance, energy, and ease into everyday life. On each episode, I sit down with experts, athletes, and everyday people to uncover small, actionable changes that create big results. Today, I'm joined by Jason Grima, founder of Team 365, Dubai's leading body and lifestyle transformation specialist, and host of his own podcast, The Lifestyle Hub. Jason works with people every day to help them build sustainable habits around training, nutrition, and lifestyle. And today, we're diving into why New Year's resolutions so often fail and what actually works instead. Jason, you're very welcome. Please tell us a bit about yourself.
Thanks so much for having me on. So my name's Jason, obviously, as we said. I've been here now closing 9 years. I came over from Brisbane in Australia, and I started with body transformations here in UAE back in 2017. And I've been pushing that as my kind of bread and butter every day and what we do. I'm a personal trainer, body transformation specialist, and we've now built a team at 365. So no longer just myself running the fitness show. Now I'm sort of running a team, members, 2 facilities. So it's day to day is very different to what it used to be, but yeah, this is kind of fitness has been my space for the last, I guess, since I was probably 15.
Brilliant. How you find the transition of being like hands-on to everything compared to now trying to direct people and keep that values intact?
Yeah, it's tricky. Like I think even as I was reflecting on 2025 and coming into 2026, the biggest takeaway was like I just learnt so many different roles that I in time, like, you know, when I started off, I was a sales consultant in a gym. Then I went into a reception role. Then I was a fitness instructor. And then I was a franchise personal trainer. So I'd kind of done everything that I could at that point. Then I've been a personal trainer ever since. 2025, I was now a gym floor manager, a cafe manager. Like we were looking at how to stock our cafe, do coffees and stock and all this, reception again. So it was actually a year of like putting a lot of different hats on. So I enjoyed it. And I think it made me focus this year to say I need to get back on the floor more. Because you might be able to relate to this too, but when you start to do all of the directives and all the different roles, sometimes you actually miss doing the things that originally brought you into that space.
Absolutely, and you have to stay close to the customer.
Yes.
You have to know exactly what they want.
Yes.
Having all that experience and all those different hats is very useful though, because you know if someone is not doing as they say or something is not right, you're the one who has the experience to go into that. January. Biggest month in the gym's calendar, you can see everything. How do you try and prepare for the New Year's resolution onslaught?
Yeah, I love it. Like every year we get a lot of ambitious people coming in. I think, for me, I love having a really steady turnover from 2025 into 26 or from December to January. Our philosophy is like a 365-day transformation. So what we notice is a lot of new people come in Jan, and then our focus is to try to make sure that they're the following Jan. How can we take them through a year-long transformation or transition? So welcoming them into the space, not complicating things. I had a meeting with my team yesterday, and we were literally talking about the simplicity of nutrition and how important it was to bring the people in on the right level with their nutrition. Like a lot of gyms and facilities or coaches now are people rock up day one and it's follow this extreme diet, we're doing this cut sugar, no alcohol, this and that. And it can really, it can be the detrimental factor of somebody who's in January who doesn't make it to Feb. So I was saying to the team, I was like, guys, we need to like understand our customer, understand the client. This is a big step for them coming into this space. And the most important thing now is to like, find what's right for the individual. Again, we're in a personal training industry, so it needs to be personalized. And, we were using examples like some characters will come in and be ready for that hard, strict approach to training. And some people will say they are, but they aren't. And, it's just identifying that. So our goal, like for Jan, is to make sure we have as many people January, they're still here in Feb, they're still here in March.
Absolutely. It brings me on to my next question nicely. How do you identify those people who, say they want to do this, but then when you look at go into the actual want of doing it and, I'm going to do this, Jason, I'm going to do that. They're not turning up. They're not logging, not tracking things. Yeah. How do you deal with that and get them back on track in a holistic way?
Yeah, it's tricky. Like, I usually like to look at people's past. So when they come on, we do a lot of screening on like, you know, what have they done before? A lot of people will say, oh, I tried this, I tried that, or I was with a trainer for a few weeks here and there. You start to understand this person a little bit better of how much they can commit to things or how disciplined they are. Once they're in though, we try to get them through, you know, just simple habits, simple daily behaviors. The biggest mistake I think we can make is giving them like set them up to fail by giving them too much or overcomplicating it. So everything we do is about like simplicity, making them feel like they have the support from us the whole way. But also not being afraid to call them out when it's their turn to perform. You know, like there's a point where it's like, okay, we've done what we can do. Now it's your turn. And I think having the authority to say, look, like, you know, this is what you wanted. We expect better from you. And that's why the goal setting is a great one, because you kind of get them to say like, this is what I want to do. And I go, great, this is how we'll do it. Is this something you can achieve, or is this sustainable? Do you agree with these? And they'll say yes, generally. And then we can always hold them accountable to that.
Do you find that sometimes people have unrealistic expectations?
Yeah, big time. It's like, especially fat loss. And, you know, I think, you know, a lot of people come in wanting to lose X by this date, especially now with Eid being a lot closer this year. So people are obviously planning Eid holidays. So it's like now everybody's kind of coming in and going, oh yeah, between now and Eid, I want to do X. And I was actually, again, I had a really relevant meeting with the trainers yesterday, but I was like, we need to set realistic expectations. And I was just making sure that the clients understand it. And the worst thing fitness professionals can do in this space is overpromise and then underdeliver. And you end up with like clients, you know, questioning credibility at the back end of that. So it's just like, look, give them the facts. At the end of the day, science plays a big part here when it comes to a deficit. Let's say for fat loss, for example, there's only so much physically possible. Let's account some room for slip-ups, and then let's give them the facts and say this is what we can do. And you know, if we're lucky, maybe we'll lose an extra kilo or two on top of that.
Absolutely. So, do you find people come in with different trends or fads? Go, Jason, I saw this online. Let's do this.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like that, every year we get that. I mean, almost every week I'll have a conversation with someone seeing something. I think Dubai, I do love the city as much as I do, but sometimes a lot of fads come out of here that I've never seen or heard of before. You know, people dropping this or dropping that or launching this and launching that. I always try to tell people to just stick to the basics, and there's no real shortcuts to sustainable long-term like lifestyle change. But yeah, I've heard it all. Like, I mean, what was the latest one I had? I had somebody telling me that they were going to try to basically, essentially it's like fasting, but they were only going to eat protein through a certain window of the day. And then another window was going to be just carbs. And then another window was just more fats, which I'd never heard of something like that in my life. I was like, where have you even heard that? And said, oh, someone on TikTok was giving me this and that example. I was like, I've literally been doing this for like 10 plus years now. I've never heard of that. So yeah, you always have to debunk all those myths that come through.
One of the biggest ones we get ourselves in fit meals is just people under eating and really starving themselves of calories and looking for meal plans for like, you know, 900, 1,000 calories a day. And, you know, we're all like, that's just not sustainable. You're not going to stick to that. You will suffer doing that.
That's right.
Do you find it hard to convince people to actually eat more sometimes?
Yeah. In particular, like our female audience is always really tricky to convince that calories are okay. I've had a few new clients on nutrition plans over the last week or two as we gear them up, and they're just saying to me, oh, I'm so full. This is so much food. And they're only on about 1,800 to 2,000 calories, which is actually like quite a sustainable, healthy amount. It does also allow us, you know, give me room to potentially drop them a little bit if we need to. But, you know, when you come in with someone who's wanting to eat at 900 to 1,000, you've got no room to move. And then before you know it, the body's in overdrive, fight or flight, and everything's just working against us. So I think a big push around education for that is from you guys, like as a nutrition company and provider and experts, but also from like the fitness side or the fitness industry as well.
Absolutely. It's education and living that experience as well, and actually going through it and eating the correct amount of calories and knowing that you can do this and have really beneficial results.
Yes.
How do you guys track your clients? Do you do it on an app? Do you try and create different progression levels? And even same with nutrition, do you try and track them on that as well? Yeah.
So we like use our 365 app, which will have all their programming. So obviously a big focus for us is strength training. And so for any sort of strength training, you need progressive overload. And usually that needs to be trackable. So from a training perspective, it's always about tracking lifts to get stronger. But like from a nutrition perspective, it's just as important. I kind of have three approaches with their nutrition. So depending on the person. We use like a fitness tracker like MyFitnessPal or ChatGPT. Some people try to use now, which isn't too bad. It's going to give FitnessPal a run for its money, or AI will give FitnessPal a run for its money. The other option is we do a meal plan, which we've used you guys plenty of times over the years. So like it's a meal plan provider, obviously all set calories calculated. That's always a really popular option, especially in a busy city like Dubai. And the third one is I'll just write them a plan, and it will be, some people prefer like 2 or 3 different options they can cycle between. Some people just love literally tell me the exact same thing that I can just eat the same thing every day. So it depends on the person, but I'll try and make sure we've got one of those in place, and it needs to be something in place. We can't just guess. So it has to be one of the 3.
Do you see many people using AI now to try and replace personal training and nutrition advice?
Yeah, personal. I mean, last year it hit me harder than I expected, in the sense of people questioning me a bit more, or kind of coming to me and saying, "Oh, I'm tracking my program with ChatGPT now, or I'm doing this or that." I do, and then even I started to explore it further, because I was like, look, like this is a global movement now. There's a lot of merit to what's coming through. So I started using it, and I think it's great when it comes to like documenting things or tracking data, suggestions, prodding different thoughts or ideas sometimes, because you get a little bit stuck. I don't think it'll ever replace the service skill level that can be provided by like a fitness professional, in a one-to-one capacity. And same with a nutrition provider, like understanding the client, on a personal struggle level and what they need from like moment to moment. It's definitely, you'll never be able to lose the personal touch. No. It does call out a lot of people who might be saying the wrong things though, because now people can fact check you. Whereas before, if, Tony, the trainer, was saying this, people would just go, okay, let's give it a go. Whereas now people are going, well, let me check, and they'll ask, and then research will come through, or science or stats or reports. So
it won't replace accountability. And for me, sometimes ChatGPT can suffer a bit with objectivity.
Yes.
It can kind of tell you what you want to hear sometimes. Or if you say, is this a good thing? I say, yeah, that's a great thing.
Yes.
It's brilliant. So you're just reinforcing maybe a mistaken belief. Because I think sometimes, not to get into an AI conversation, you have to tell it to be really objective and be really critical here. Because I find that sometimes as well. So I'm sure people are
You've got me thinking back. I'm like, have I taken good advice from it without telling it to be more objective? Yeah, it's a good point, actually. Yeah, to try and challenge it a little bit more, to challenge you.
And it's very easy for someone to challenge your protocol now. They just copy and paste or whatever, put whatever they're doing in there, and
that's right.
It's a tough one.
Yeah, it's a new space.
Perfect. So listen, small changes. Someone comes in, they have a big goal. What are the top 2 or 3 small things you ask people to do?
So I guess the easiest changes we'll normally do is we'll start off with, I'll get people to usually give me like a food diary. So like we know nutrition has a really major impact on results. Okay, so the three categories I always look at is generally sleep management, stress management, and then movement. Okay, so nutrition's not in there initially. So those 3 things can really set somebody up for success. So I like to make sure, are we sleeping correctly? We know sleep is the fundamental grounding factor. Like no matter how much your training plan is amazing, or how good your food is, if your sleep is consistently bad, you'll slip up on food eventually, and your training will definitely suffer. So sleep's my first thing that we try to focus on, and that's hard in Dubai because it's such a 24-hour city. The second point is stress. So obviously, what are our stress markers? What's causing stress in your day? How can we alleviate some of that? Usually that's over setting higher expectations. So I try to just manage, go, hey, let's just cut back a little bit. Let's focus on these smaller things, just declutter for them. And then the last one is just encourage movement. So like, let's be active. I've always found that people then with those bases are able to follow the nutrition a lot more, successfully, because I think sometimes the mistake I've seen in the past is having people go straight to, let's say, a nutrition, just nutrition, without really looking at the other areas. And it can actually lead to sometimes giving somebody a bad experience with like I'm not going to say a restrictive diet, but just having any sort of food guidelines or implementation from somebody going from being whatever they want and having no real knowledge to then saying, hey, follow this plan. If they're not having those other factors in check, it can cause them to sometimes relapse or fail or not stick to it. And then they're like, you know what, I can't do this diet business. And for them, they'll continue the rest of their life without actually ever implementing any sort of structure around food, which we know is horrible, is not a thing. It shouldn't be a thing.
I think it's like that saying, it's easier to be great than good. And I think you're absolutely right. If your sleep is right, your stress is low, you know, and you're getting those fundamentals right, you're moving, it's easier to eat well.
Yes.
It's when you're stressed, it's when you're not going to the gym. That's when you break and you start bringing in bad habits and doing these things. So absolutely. Your line of work, I mean, a lot of people work in areas where you don't get to see, you know, huge changes in people's lives. I mean, I'm sure you've seen some amazing transformations. How does that make you and the trainers feel?
Yeah, that's always been the most rewarding thing for me over the years. It's definitely been the reason I've kept going in this path. It's never been financial. Trust me, like I've seen the red hit the accounts more than enough times. So it's never been that. It's more about going, hey, I love what we're doing. Or, you know, sometimes you'll have a month that probably, you know, wasn't a good month, but then you'll have a conversation with somebody and how much you impacted them throughout that month, you'll push for the next month, and you'll start to go, you know, this is my space. This is what I love doing. It is a really fulfilling feeling to be able to help somebody. And I think, you know, it starts with one person in a private capacity, and then now we're doing a smaller group capacity. Now we've got trainers facilitating multiple people across 2 spaces. Kind of like similar to what you guys can do as well. I think the goal for us in our spaces is to be able to impact as many people as we can. And I think, you know, from a fitness provider and even a nutrition provider, you know, the fact that we're able to scale up on what we're doing, it like triples down on the feelings we get and why we do this.
Absolutely. Do you find sometimes you get pockets of people because one person says it's their friend and then they say it to their other friends and, you know, that referral kind of system?
Yeah, that's always the best. Like that is what our business is built on at the moment. Like I'm still trying to figure out how to do ads and marketing, and that just shows us that most of our business actually does come from referrals, which we're very grateful for. But to get referrals, you need to provide a good service. So that keeps you honest. I think anyone can be shown well via marketing, or you know they've got someone showcasing marketing well, or their Instagram algorithm is doing well. But to actually have referrals going out around the community means there's no sugarcoating it. Like you are providing a service that's worth talking about. So
yeah, absolutely. Even just for us, we can spend all the money in the world on marketing. It is valuable, don't be wrong, but our highest acquisitions is through referrals and word of mouth.
Yes.
So yeah.
I mean, it's been very easy for me as a coach to recommend you guys. Over the years, and I've been with you for a couple of years now. I think even close to 3 years. Yeah, so it's been very easy, and I think it's as a coach. And I've had this conversation with a few business owners or company owners in the last 12 months. Is like I've been wanting to build my network of partners that I can trust, that I can say to somebody, they'll sort you out and it's all good. And then this has come with like physios and doctors and you know, clinics and different even clothing providers, and obviously nutrition as well. Is that for me the most important thing is to be able to say, look, these guys are good. And then I mean 9 times out of 10 when I've said that, it's always been great. And then that person's referred on. So this is a really valuable tool. And I think, you know, it's a good quality control check on what's going out there.
Yeah, absolutely. It takes the decision away from them as well. You know, I've never made a good decision when hungry. So
exactly.
I think in Dubai, that's a hard one because you're hungry. A bad meal is only 10 minutes away, you know, just on your phone. So just have that planned out for you. It really helps.
I've got a question for you quickly on that. So I think my Deliveroo spend, like prior to obviously having more meal plans in place, I think most of my extra income was going towards like Deliveroo purchases of pointless meals that were not contributing to my health and not contributing to my performance or my fitness. And they were kind of just emotional acts of like indulgence. Going back to Australia last year, I was like, I feel like this. I went onto the phone and I actually couldn't get anything to me. Like, you know, I live 20 minutes out of the city, but nothing was going to be arriving to my door within 60 minutes at least. If not, I had to go. So here I've just noticed, like, you know, from a meal company perspective, like, do you think we're in one city in the world where being in the meal prep industry can be one of the most amazing spaces?
Absolutely. So number one, this is a convenience capital of the world. You will not be able to sit anywhere in your couch, like call it couch economics, and literally order anything to your doorstep. So people are getting really used to that, and that's now part of their lifestyle. We expect that to come to us. However, now we expect it with serious service and quality.
Yeah.
So, people don't longer do things by 30 minutes or 15. They do it by 7-8 minutes.
Yes.
You see all the signs around the place.
Yes.
So we have to compete with that from a service and quality.
Yeah.
And that is a challenge because, I said, if you're not planned out, if you're not deliberate about what you want to be intentional about for the week or the month ahead, you're going to make bad choices.
Yeah.
I do it. Same.
It's hard to avoid.
Yeah. So it's an interesting one. Dubai also is one of the leading cities in terms of health and wellness. I mean, you can't but look at the place and not see everything in wellness and health and nutrition. So it really is becoming something that is probably one of the top cities in the world for meal prep, I would say, from what we're seeing. Obviously, London, New York, a lot of big Australian companies doing it. Singapore, Hong Kong. Interesting a lot. Interestingly,
here or there?
As in there, it's big there. And here, interestingly, it's actually a lot of high expat cities. Because I think, again, people look at being an expat sometimes and think you have a great life. And we do, don't get me wrong, we have a great life, but we work hard here. Monday to Friday is, you are up against some serious companies, serious professionals. Correct. You have to really stand out. So in order to do that, sometimes you need a meal prep, or you need something, or to really organize that for you. So I think just all those things align with Dubai. We're busy. We're in a very health and wellness focused city, and here, thankfully, we have that bit more disposable income maybe to spend on our nutrition and health.
Yes, definitely.
The competitor then is the bad choices. So
yes,
we're the angel with the devil on.
I like that.
Hope.
We need that. Definitely we need to have both in there. And I think that's why it's been so easy for me to obviously also get good results with clients, because we're able to recommend them healthier options, in which case before was always like a very big excuse where I was like, I can't do this, I can't do that, I can't prep this, I have to go convenience, I'm going through Macca's, I'm doing this. Whereas now I can literally shut those down pretty quickly and say, look, we literally have everything at our fingertip of the highest standard. I mean, you've got Michelin star restaurants sending out meals on delivery sometimes. So I'm like, you can literally go whatever your palate might be. There's something for you. And I guess when it comes from a fitness, perspective, where we've got calories counted and macros counted, you guys are leading the charge on that.
It's consistency as well, which is literally the number one golden rule in any of this. And if you're eating with us every day, you're building a habit.
Yes,
you're getting used to it. And again, just not suffering from decision fatigue, not having to think on a Sunday, what am I going to do? What am I going to eat? Where am I going to get it? So it just builds that consistency, and better than me. I mean, that is just 1% every day.
Yes,
huge.
Yeah, that's what it's about.
In terms of nutrition, do you ever give anyone some like very simple habits to make, I suppose, outside of meal prep? Because we're, again, Dubai, we are coffee merchants, we're snack merchants, we have everything else there. Do you find there's other simple habits outside of meal prep?
Yeah, I think simple habits for me that I try to recommend to people would be things like just like having food restricted windows. Like, we don't need to be constantly eating. It's like set the parameters in the day where you can actually just buffer your calories out. So for me, I wake at 4 a.m. I'm training by 5. I have clients back to back pretty steadily till about 1, 2 o'clock. So I actually don't eat much in the mornings. I'll have a protein bar, and I'll have a protein shake and a coffee, and a lot of water, and that's like my morning. Then I'll stack my calories towards the back end of the day, because that's generally where I'm more hungry. So, I'll be doing like a double fit meals meal. Sometimes later in the afternoon, I'll be doing my breakfast and lunch at the same time. For me, that suits me better, because I'm less likely to be hungry and reach for things that I wouldn't normally eat. So what I try to recommend to people is like look at your day and be smart to when you put your food in, because that can ultimately set you up for failure or not. If you've left a massive gap between, let's say, the one I see the most is lunch and dinner, that mid-afternoon period, people are then stopping for delivery or ordering something, or going into the lunchroom and taking the cupcakes and stuff like that. So outside of like meal prep, I would say like just calorie be smart with your intake windows and try and set yourself parameters. Don't eat, too much food after 8 p.m. Try and set a cutoff time in the evenings. Dubai, again, is a city where most of us are working up until crazy hours in the evening. If you keep eating right up until 1 o'clock, your calorie eating intake window might start from like 6 till 1, 6 a.m. till 1 a.m. the following day. So it just becomes like this, blurred line. So try to set some boundaries. That's probably the biggest one that I try to help people with.
Do you ever see people with like a caffeine overload? I think genuinely we have the best cafes in the world per square meter in Dubai. Yeah. It's crazy.
Yes.
Trying to, a lot of people work from home as well, go from cafe to cafe, let's say. Do you see a lot of that?
Yeah, I'm a caffeine fiend, so I don't know how, I can't really call too many people out to call myself out here. I literally waited this morning. I waited 6 minutes for noon to drop me off a V energy drink. I'm not sponsored. But I was like, I'm going to wait for this because I really feel like that. So yeah, I'm not a good example when it comes to caffeine. I definitely think people consume far too much caffeine. The issue with caffeine, as we know, is obviously one, pros and cons. It is an appetite suppressant, but at the end of the day, if that reduces you to not getting your proper nutrients in, then it can be a big issue, as well as obviously just the burnout period that caffeine will have eventually, So there is an optimal window for that, but it is hard to make sure, I spoke to someone yesterday and he's like, I actually don't drink coffee. And I was like, what? Like, how can you not drink coffee? But, I think, just trying to moderate that intake is a really important factor. And unfortunately, a lot of people too who smash the caffeine never drink enough water. And so, it can play a really negative role in their health and wellness.
You get up at 4 a.m.
4 a.m.
How does that impact your sleep routine? You're literally in bed at 6 p.m.
No, I wish. I'm in bed at about literally I was having a conversation with ChatGPT this morning. I've been on a roller coaster in the last 24 hours. I was saying to it, what time do I need to stop eating? Because I know this, but it was just I keep feeling like I'm trying to find that balance between finishing work, getting home and sitting to have a meal.
Yeah.
Trying to then switch off for 20 where I don't use my phone. You'll be exact same, I'd imagine. And then get sleep, wind down sleep, and then wake up and ready to go. And I was just trying to construct my evening, which is my whole day is actually very scheduled. And now I'm sitting there thinking, this was my last free window of the day, that last 3-4 hours. And now I'm actually having to find parameters to build things. So 4 a.m. is tricky. It all comes down to the evening setup. The reason I do it's not because I'm just trying to be a hero in the mornings. Generally walk my huskies before I start the day. I love spending time with them. So we go for a walk and then I'll head to the gym. I'll train. Me getting my workout out of the way when no one's texting me is invaluable. As soon as and this too, as soon as we're trying to put out fires throughout the day, if I'm middle of my workout, let's say at 1 or 2 p.m., the workout goes downhill straight away. And I sometimes can't prioritize myself over the issues that we're trying to kind of correct. So 5 a.m. is a sweet spot. It's quiet. No one's messaged me. It's silent. As long as I don't send any messages out, it's silent space. And then our first classes start at 6 a.m. And so by then I'm in my best possible mood to go back to what we spoke about earlier, which was being more customer facing and in amongst the people rather than the books.
Yeah.
So the morning training has always been a pivotal part of the day.
How do you find then just carving out time for yourself? Because now you're running a business and as you know, there's not enough hours in the day and you will never be able to give enough hours to it. How do you find carving out time for Jason?
It's almost like there isn't a space for me at the moment. I know people wouldn't agree with that and it probably isn't the right thing to be the way to look at it. I'm kind of just accepting at the moment that I am in the best position for Jason possible. We're growing something that I've always wanted to grow. I'm healthy, touch wood at the minute, and all is well. So I should just be embracing that journey. I think for me, it's trying to find time to just declutter my mind rather than because I kind of, me training in the gym is a space that I love. I do a lot of community stuff with our members where we go hiking or cycling or this on the weekends. This is a place I'd normally spend my time. So now I'm just taking people with me. So I love it as well. So I think rather than, I've tried to look at it as being okay, it's an off day today, or I'm going to have this afternoon off, or I'm not going to look at work here because I just felt like I haven't been able to manage that. And the company's not where we want it to be for me to think that way. Yeah. So rather than just be constantly let down by not having space for Jason, I've just gone, this year I just need to have 15, 20 minutes to find my quietness in my mind. I think that's a more valuable space for me now, is to just clear my head so I can think better. Have you got advice for me on this? How are you managing that?
I've heard a good anecdote before about having a work-life harmony rather than a work-life balance.
Yeah,
because trying to just say, I'm not going to do something at this time, it just doesn't work sometimes, especially running your own business.
Yes.
So yeah, carving out time. I've 2 young kids, so I need to really
Of course,
kind of pillar that.
Yes.
But it is difficult. And the thing I'd find the hardest is actually not carving out the time, but it's being there in the time. Because I can carve out time and my head is just
ticking
somewhere else.
Yeah.
It's like, we should do this, we should do that. Why haven't we done this? Did I do this? So I think it's it's like a wrestling match with your mind sometimes.
Yes.
But and again, I always say I don't think people realize how hard it is to start your own business and to get it off the ground. 0 to 1 is so difficult.
Definitely.
And it takes all your time, all your energy, and to get it off the ground. It does get easier, especially as you get amazing people working with you.
Yes.
So I would say my challenge now is trying to mentally switch off, because I have carved out the time, thankfully, family-wise and things like that. And sleep. I'm going to get some free advice off you now.
Okay.
How do you manage sleep with young kids?
I mean, it's a tricky one. Again, I've not been in this. I'm not parenting at this stage. So for me, like, clients always give me a hard time saying it's easier for you. You don't have kids yet. You don't know what's coming. But I think the biggest thing for you is obviously trying to work around their routines. Like, this is what I advise my clients is like, look at the optimal windows in your day where you and your kids' times overlap. A lot of people are like trying to find minutes here and there. Kids will have set bedtime sometimes. They'll have their school schedule in the mornings. So it's like, where can you find that time with them with maybe device free to start with? So no phone, like you said, very intentional time with them. And then trying to set the boundaries potentially in the evenings to try and sleep. How old are your kids at the moment?
Nearly 3 and 18 months.
Okay, so you're in the sleep deprivation period.
Yeah. And another coming in May.
Okay, so it's continuing. So I think, in that case, where the buffer for the sleep comes in, it isn't trying to get more sleep, because I feel like that's the battle parents in that point keep trying to do. And it's like, well, we can't, because when baby's crying, you're not going to just, say, oh, coach said to just try to like let it go a little longer or whatever. Like, and there's so many variables. One night it's 2 a.m., one night it's 4, one night it's a perfect sleep. So it's like, how can you be more flexible on the other side with your, let's say, training, for example? And so what I've done with some clients is said, rather than looking at like set days, you need to have done this on Monday and this on Tuesday. Let's look at it at like either a 1 to 7 day period or a 1 to 14 day. And so in that 14-day period example, you must hit the gym 8 times, okay? So if that's not Monday, Tuesday, because baby's not sleeping and you've not slept and you've had to try to get 4 or 5 hours at least, which means the gym session had to go because then work, started, that's okay, because then maybe we hit the gym 5 days on, a row to the back end of the week.
Yeah.
Or over that 14-day window, we've still done our 8 days. It just wasn't Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. Because sometimes people will feel defeated if they haven't done Tuesday's program. It's like, I missed Tuesday, the week's done, I'll just start again next week.
Deflated.
So I'm like, try not to like set yourself around this, like these constraints when you've got a variable like something as important as that you can't really manage. So that's how I try to look at it.
You've actually hit the nail on the head. So I'd have been like, I have to get my Monday to Friday done. If I get a bonus session on Saturday, Sunday, I'm happy.
Yeah, nice.
And now what I've kind of done is that I have 4 days in the week that I need to get a gym done.
Perfect.
If it doesn't happen on Monday,
good, I'll
get it on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. If it doesn't happen on Friday, I'll get it on Saturday, or I'll catch it on Sunday.
How are you finding that?
Good. I usually hit the 4. If I get a bonus 15, happy days. If I don't, I don't beat myself up about it. Try and do that. And even 1 to 14 actually probably is better again, because sometimes 1 to 7 is tough.
Yeah, that gives you like a little bit more of a buffer.
It does.
It can become an excuse sometimes, the 1 to 14. So I like you managing it in a 1 to 7, but at least you can always play around with it. But it's good to hear that you're using the strategy and it's working.
But it's even having that option and knowing that, listen, I got 4 hours sleep last night. There is no point me going to a gym today. Just go in, do your work, get home, try and get back to normal routine, and then set it up again tomorrow. Whereas before, pre-kids and things like that, you'd have been really hard on yourself. So I suppose it's trying to create, again, that harmony
100%,
where it's kind of in and out. So I agree.
Okay, I'm glad that you utilize that, because the other thing that you can also add into that is to just, if it was a gym session, you can't get the full workout in, but you can do 15 minutes, then that's where I'll sometimes say as a buffer, okay, like let's say you're somebody who benefits from the endorphin release of exercise daily. And what we do at 365 is, and my mantra to our members is rent is due every day. So if someone's saying to me, well, you're telling me rent is due every day, and then you're telling me to just look at a 1 to 14 day window, my argument to that, my suggestion to that would be, I know, like we want to keep chasing that endorphin release. So if that workout, it wasn't Monday, maybe it's a 15-minute walk, maybe it's some push-ups, or maybe it's a bit of stretching, a YouTube video with some stretching for 15 minutes while you're playing with your son or daughter. It's like still do some sort of movement, because I think that also allows you to feel like it hasn't been like a 3-day window of no movement. So I kind of bounce between those two methodologies. It's like just turn up and do something. And then if you can turn up and do your program, even better. Yeah,
that's actually a really good one. Sometimes I come in, I have only 30 minutes. I can't do a gym session. That's not true. You can do something.
Yeah, you can do something. And like same as me, like I feel like it's a space for us to also get our minds like refreshed.
It's your time.
So sometimes I'm like, I just need 20 minutes. Like I just need a 15, like I can do 3Ks in 15 minutes around and literally run around my apartment or wherever I'm living, around the street. And go, okay, there's 15 minutes, 3Ks, I'll sweat. My heart rate's elevated. I'm going to feel good. And then you're almost like, okay, today we did still progress. We still moved the needle forward from a fitness standpoint. So
another good rule I try and live by is don't miss 2 days in a row. It's easy to catch up a day. Miss 2 days, it's tough. Unless you're literally on the floor. But just try and be consistent with that. And
I love that. I use that for meals. Like, so same approach. Like I tell clients, don't have 2 bad meals in a row. Try to limit 2 bad meals consecutive. If you had a crazy lunch, that's all right. Wind it back in for dinner. So, I like that. Definitely. It's such a valuable little tool to stay on track.
So what do you do, let's say, because we do obviously a 6-day plan, 5-day plan. So the days you're not on plan, I mean, do you give yourself a break, or do you try and what's your strategy?
I wouldn't say I cook, but I like putting the barbecue on and just cooking a few steaks and then some rice or potato or some bread or something like that. So I definitely don't mind, like I don't necessarily see myself going to fine dining restaurants. It's not really kind of the things that I do. I'll kind of put the barbecue on instead. So it's usually that, and it's usually on those days I'll tend to eat less. Like I'll kind of drop my calories back a little bit more and just save it for like a bigger evening out with my mates. We go for Lebanese, or maybe it's burger night or whatever it might be. So on like my non-meal plan days, I'll use those as like my kind of off plan or a little bit more loose and flexible enjoyment days. Not to say the meal plan's not enjoyable, but it's just like, all right, whatever comes to me on a Saturday, I'm going to enjoy it. But the parameter is it's not going to be breakfast, lunch, dinner, snack, midnight snack off the rails. If it is, every now and then it happens, then the following day, the Sunday, then it's like, all right, let's tighten it back up. So, I think what I've done, I always do the 5-day meal plan with you guys, but I think I've also recommended to some clients who are a bit wild on their weekends to just take the 6. Because when you've got, one of our, so basically my pillars for 365 is 3 stands for 3 habits that we set for somebody. 6 is 6 tracked calorie days.
Okay.
And then 5 is 5 intense workouts, or 5 progressive or intentional workouts. So that's like our kind of breakdown of what 365 stands for. 6 tracked calorie days means like 6 days of conscious eating. Like you're aware of what you're having. So for some people, it might be 6 days on a meal plan. Because if I give them 2 days to their own devices, it tends to get out of control. So if you can follow like a 6 days of like guidelines, whether it be a meal plan or 5 days meal plan, 1 day kind of tracked, and then you're a little bit more enjoyable on the last day, you can generally not undo that. Really, in 24 hours, you can't undo 6 days of calculated, correct, healthy eating.
I like that. I like the 1 day of no tracking, because it just, even mentally, it just gives you that break and kind of...
You need it.
Yeah, absolutely, And everything in moderation.
Yes.
Some people are like, do you do a 7-day plan? Or we don't. And or like, maybe we will in the future. Some people really want it, but...
Oh, there's the demand for it.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely,
great.
Yeah. People do text us, look for a 7-day plan. Well, I really like the 6-day one. I do the 6-day one myself. And then again on the 7, just do something with the family or with my wife or whatever.
Nice.
And it's just easy,
Yes.
And to be fair, Dubai is a really good city for that. There are
there's lots
really
of
nice
options.
Cafes and restaurants and things like that. You just not the high dining ones even.
There's heaps in between.
So it's a really good balance, I find. We talked earlier about people setting unrealistic expectations or goals. What kind of one piece of advice would you give people for setting goals for 2026?
2026 goals. I would say don't get caught up on thinking December 2026 achievements yet. I think it can be overwhelming. Sometimes people start to think like, what do I want to achieve in 2026? And that thought alone can actually have you not really moving any sort of needle in January. And then before you know it, Feb's come and gone in March, and then you're looking down 6 months of intensity. You go, I've not hit any of my targets. So what I'm saying to clients is going, look, have an overall theme for the year and direction that you want to be in. Break it into quarters and then break it into January only. So quarter one, Q1, what do you want to see? What progression do you want to have, whether it be health, fitness, or personal, career, financial, etc. And then bring it back down to January. What can you do? What actionable tasks can you take in January? So I kind of deconstruct it that way. I'll put like December 2026, quarter 1, 2, 3, 4, and then quarter 1 January, and what can we do to move it? So yeah, don't never set too many goals as well. I think sometimes people put so many on paper, and there's two arguments to this. I think you could say I put as many on there and see what sticks, but I think for a lot of us today we just get overwhelmed by it and tend not to move, and we just kind of freeze. So I'm just like, just do one thing that you can get done.
Yeah, pick one thing, do it right.
Yeah,
much higher success.
Definitely.
Have you picked one thing?
Oh, mate, I'm the worst example of my own advice at the moment. I think I've got a few things, but for January was to complete my motorbike license. So that's that. And then to start getting my Lebanese lessons started, because I'm half Lebanese, but I'm still not fluent. So it was like, all right, let's work on that. So I set, they were totally unrelated to work, because as you would know too, in our position, we do have lots of like, I wouldn't say they're goals, they're more targets, aren't they? Yeah. So it's like my what was my passion, which was fitness, is now, when goal focus is now very focused around actual targets now. So I'm like, all right, I need to think of something outside that space to use as like a way to, work on some hobbies or side projects. So that's my 2 for Jan.
Do you work on any like business coaching or trying to improve your leadership skills or business acumen? Yeah,
this is so important. Like I just recently started online coaching mentoring. So with somebody who's quite, prominent in that space, to try and how can we get online and impact people globally. It was always an area I struggled with, because I'm much more of a person-to-person type character. So for me to actually simulate that with somebody online was quite challenging for me. So we're trying to learn and navigate that space. And I have a lot of I've been very grateful to have a lot of clients who are in incredible leadership positions with some amazing successful companies. And, they're always just a coffee away, or I say, let's go for a cycle, and they know who they are. But for me, sometimes just spending time with, those valuable, it's like who you surround yourself with, right? Absolutely. So I tend to kind of just go, and now it's not so much like, I can take people through fitness education courses. Like I don't necessarily, there's always things to learn, don't get me wrong. But at the minute, my priority isn't to learn more about how to train somebody better. I've been doing that for 12 years now. Now it's like, how can I lead a team better? How can I manage people? And so this is where I'm trying to lean towards those people. Have you noticed a similar, from an education perspective, are you having to upskill?
Oh, absolutely. I have a business coach I've been using for the last 2 years or so.
Amazing.
And for me, obviously a lot of dynamics of business have changed, especially with AI and that, but the fundamentals of business has not changed, especially leading and managing and strategy and things like that. So I find that just to give you a framework, even just to bounce ideas off and things like that. Someone who's been through it before, has 30 years more experience than you or something like that.
Yes.
It's invaluable. So it's, I have to set my own personal business goals this year. We've our company one set. I have some fitness goals I've tried to set for the quarter and the year and things like that. But you do have to aim for something. You have to and write it down and so really valuable. Go for it. But I think business-wise, you can never stop learning. I try and read one book a month on business.
Nice.
Right now, I'm reading Measure What Matters.
Okay.
It's a really good OKR framework book.
Okay.
It's going to sound very boring to anyone else who's listening to this.
It's valuable.
It is. And so some of these things are very manual rather than, story based, and you kind of have to really take it in. But I find anytime I read a book, I get 2 or 3 really good nuggets of information from that.
That's the whole idea.
And then I can bounce it off my business coach and say, do you think this would work at Fit Meals? Do you think that's something that we could really bring in and develop here? So that's what I kind of do at the moment. I'm not, again, sometimes I'm not my best. I didn't read anything in December, but January I'm kind of back onto it again.
That's normal. Again, that's normal.
But I think books, I mean, you're getting like someone's life experience for like, you know, $20.
Oh, it's so
like,
it's so valuable. I think it's underlooked these
unbelievable.
days. I'm an audiobook guy.
Yeah.
I'll do it when I'm walking the dogs. Oh, so you'll do both, or just?
Do you know what? I'll usually buy the hard copy and read the audiobook.
Okay.
So
I'll the same time.
Yeah. So I'll flick in between the two of them.
Depending on convenience.
Yeah,
that's a
so
good idea.
I'll listen to chapter 1 on the way to work, and I'll read chapter 2. Do you know that kind of way?
When
Or
you've got a space.
sometimes there might be a graphic based thing in it. Let's say that's obviously not applicable in audio.
Correct.
But again, if you're on Spotify Premium, that a lot of them are free. So
that's a good shout.
It's
I didn't think of the
huge
double. Yeah, because sometimes I'll wait till I'm being moving to listen to it. So now I'm like, I should have just got the book as well. I could do it when I'm on the couch sometimes. Rarely happens, but yeah, I think however you process it best, there's so much information there.
Yeah.
Especially for people in our space. Like, again, if we're obviously ambitious people, we've, grown our passions into something more. So like, I think, to find ways to continue upskilling and sometimes it's just about feeling like you're not alone on it too.
Absolutely.
That one's such a big one for me. Like when I hear other people who are like, miles ahead or at the same point, or even like going through what I was going through a year ago now, it's just sometimes reassuring to hear. It's like, okay, we're all kind of going through the same things. It's a similar, bag of worms with everything. So yeah, I feel like that's really valuable to help with your self-confidence and, morale as well sometimes.
Yeah. And sometimes you just need validation sometimes that you're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. You hear people who are in business 20 years longer, you're having the same issues you're having. You're like, okay, we're not alone here.
Yeah,
this
exactly.
is a common theme we're getting here. This is just the struggles of life, let's say, and it's not just some like leadership or management mistake or error, fundamental thing that you've made. It's just the way things go.
Yeah.
Do you find it difficult then in terms of training? Because my God, if anyone has an opinion on anything, it's training and education on health, wellness. How do you cut out the noise in that and kind of focus in on something that's very worthwhile?
From a like training point for myself, or like what we do at
I suppose
365?
for your company as well as yourself. I'm sure, I know we spoke about it earlier, people come in with fads and trends, but how do you try and ascertain what is real and what's not? Because if 100 things come in, 2 of them are probably going to be good. You know,
that's right.
So how do you try and?
I think we did kind of a similar way to answer your question. I think was like last year we did a lot of like trying to just focus on what we deliver and deliver it well. Dubai has so much noise, and there's so many I would say, I'm not going to say fads, but like trends or concepts that will come in. Hyrox isn't necessarily one, but Hyrox was a big conversation of 2025. Run clubs became a massive thing of 2025. And we had a bit of pressure in our space of going, well, we don't have members competing at Hyrox. We need to be in the Hyrox space. And I did a Hyrox last year. I love the space and what's being built there. We had conversations saying, well, we need to have a run club. And I had to just block out all of that noise around fitness is looking like it's moving in this space. And I said, guys, this is not who we are. I built this on the basis of body transformations and lifestyle transformations. We can do a run on a Saturday. We can have members enter into a Hyrox, but what we're known for and at our core is body transformations, which are built on the fundamentals of strength training and understanding nutrition. That's kind of like what we do. We help people lift weights well and safely, and we help people understand what they're ingesting, what they're eating.
Yeah.
That's it. If we do that well, we can dabble in all the other areas. So I think, there's a lot of noise, and I think when you come to for yourself as well, like in the nutrition scene, I mean, how did you find that? Because I get overwhelmed with that space. People always say to me, I'd like to say this to you, like people always say to me, "Oh, we'll just whip up a meal plan company. Yeah, it's a great business idea, Jace. You should whip a 365 meal plan." I'm like, I could not think of anything, without any disrespect, worse from the context of it's not that simple. It's like people say, I'll just be a trainer. I'm like, it's not that simple. If you want to be credible, offer a quality product, it isn't about just whipping up a meal plan. And you would have seen hundreds of meal plan companies come and go very quickly. Same as gyms and coaches as well.
I would say when people look at our journey, kind of crawl, walk, run, I think we're walking at the moment. We still have so much to learn, and the product we give now is so different than the product we started off with. And I guarantee in 5 years' time, please God, we're still here, it'll have changed again. It's not simple. I also say it's easy to do it for 50 people.
Yeah.
difficult to do it for 100. When you get to 500, then it's really starting to get into, a serious space where you need to have really good team, a really good knowledge, and 25 hours in the day. Like yourself, gyms, we've seen so many open and close around us, and it's just about really sticking to that quality, consistency of effort.
Correct.
Just go back to what you said, doing one thing right. We are a meal prep company. We don't do gyms. We don't do anything else. Yes. We don't offer gym advice. We don't offer medical advice. We don't do any of those things. Yeah. We could have gone into this whole 360 thing if we wanted to on medical testing, all that kind of stuff. Right now, we're just really focused on our product and our service. And I still think we've so much to improve there. We have a really... We have a really good product, I think, but I think we can make it really great. Our new facility expansion now is really lining up for that, because right now, previously, we couldn't expand our menu. We couldn't expand our product. So right now we can. So we can do a lot of new product development. We can add a lot more variety, a lot more services. So that's really exciting for us. The trick is to do it right. Do it well and keep the high standards of quality. So I think if you look at any really successful companies, they have focused on one thing, a really big niche, and get it right. There's an American saying, they pronounce niche as a niche, and the riches are in the niches. Okay. So if you really focus in on something really well, it can be really fruitful.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. You guys have done that well, though. Like, I've been with you, I've been having your meals for at least 3 years now. I'm losing track of time in Dubai, but it's been the longest meal company I've ever been associated with or consumed consistently. And sometimes I'm on, sometimes I'm off, but more or less for the most part I've been on. And I think what I loved about what you guys do was the conversations. You'd make my life easier, because I would say to clients, guys, you can have carbs. It's okay. Like, you can have that meal tonight. Like, it's going to be all right. And then I'd put that, they would always be going, I can't have that. How can I have pasta and still lose weight? And I'm like, it comes down to calories and this and that. And then when I was like, okay, just go onto this meal plan, they're going to sort it out for you. You don't need to think about it. And then they'd call me or send me a photo and saying, I've got pasta for dinner. How's that a thing? And I'm like, yeah, because it's calorie counted. Like, look at the box. I mean, you guys put I think you can still scan on FitnessPal.
Scan it,
that was a great feature. So you can scan it on the app for those who want to track in around the meals. And people were just like, they couldn't believe it. Maz Hakim was my client. She went through a wedding transformation. She was obviously following your meal plan. Every day she's telling me, how do I eat apple pie, I think, for breakfast, or protein apple pie, or something, whatever it was. And it looked amazing. I don't usually do the breakfast option, so I don't know all the breakfast menu. I do all the snacks and everything else. But yeah, Maz was just blown away with she was like messaging me saying, how am I having pasta 2 weeks out from my wedding? And I'm like, because it's calorie counted. Like, so I think that's the one thing that I love that what you guys do is, like, we're educating people that, like, nutrition doesn't have to be boring, and you can have all the foods that you've always wanted to have. Carbs are not the enemy as well, because a lot of your meals have carb satisfying dishes, which is so nice to see, because there was the big trends around just having no carbs. People thinking they can't eat carbs, and we know carbs are essential for performance and for stress management and sleep quality. And I think the other thing was just food was always as it was year after year after year. So for me, like, from a quality standpoint, it's no surprise that you've gotten to this point, because you did see the food continually it was either the same, if not better. So I never had issues with food quality. And I think that's a big problem that I think meal prep companies would face, right? Is just being able to replicate the quality of meals day in, day out, with a very highly bougie Dubai palate that people have here. Because, like, I'd sometimes have comments like, it's fine, just like get into it, like, and then like, I used to eating this and that and lobster this and that and caviar here, and I'm just like, I've never tasted any of those things before, like, so you have like a trickier market, I'd say. So the fact that you're able to keep it grounded and so consistent has been great.
Brilliant. Well, listen, I couldn't think of a better way to finish the podcast.
Love it.
On that note.
Why don't we just crop just that those couple of minutes?
Jason, thank you, mate. That's been great. I really enjoyed the conversation. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thanks so much for listening. We hope this conversation helped simplify things and give you a few practical takeaways you can actually use. You can watch the full episode on YouTube, listen to Spotify, and if you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe. We'll see you again next time.